We're firing up this week, right? Headed to Duncan. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. So glad you're here. We're gonna spend a day in the shop once I finish getting it opened up. And I also wanted to point out, for those who might not know, the loaded hash browns at Dunkin' Donuts, definitely worth checking out. Something you don't want to eat too often, but once in a while is a rare treat. Delish. That's not what we're here for today, though. We are here to fix some cars, try to get this Jeep back together, try to get him his car back. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I did not get to take it to Old Town this weekend because I haven't done a 10 mile. I want to do a 10-mile shakedown run before I make another attempt. But the AC is staying cold. All that's looking good. I want to get the door latches on there too, really. Let's put some clips in right here, which you'll expect to see in today's video. Oh, that might be familiar. Well, that's no good. Now you might see quite a few old and abandoned cars, some European exotics, some classics, a lot of Chryslers it seems like, but maybe that's just me. In any event, we got plenty of things to do. I'm not sure what you saw in those clips, but I'm gonna grab this pry bar that's been on the lift for a week or so, bring it inside, and finish getting the shop open up so we can learn a thing or two, have some fun, and drink some Dunkin' coffee. Stay tuned. Oh, that might be familiar. Remember I did a cooling system housing. It was overheating and leaking coolant, and the tube had come out of the valve cover, so it was setting weird codes from the air leak on this side of the mass airflow. A customer said, my check engine light came on again. You guys just fixed it. But he actually declined putting the hose back in, if you remember, because another shop had left it out when they worked on it, and I went ahead and put it in because I had it apart, right? It'd be silly not to. So we're gonna look and see what the code is, figure that out for them, at least get a sense of direction. Oh, and I got a grease tube too. Finally gonna get to use the grease gun that Tim sent, and got a little Napa grease tube. It's gonna make a mess, but that's how it works. So that'll be cool. We'll get to play with this a little bit next time I grease a chassis or something. Now, come on with it. Just a battery away from being used. For those who need a refresher and don't remember, this is a super clean 2001 Explorer Sport Track Military Edition. 388,919 miles. For yous who is against Ford trucks, get it together, will you? This thing is built Ford tough. I don't care who says otherwise. That's impressive. It is on a second or third engine, but don't worry about that. That's what someone asked me one time. How long will this thing keep running? I said, as long as you keep fixing it. Anywho, health report. I'm going to scan all the modules. Then we'll do a key on engine off test, key on engine running test, based on what we see for the initial codes in the memory. The key on engine off test will tell you codes that happen with the system booted up without the engine running. If it sees something bad, it'll give you a code right then. The key on engine running test will test a lot more things with the engine running, misfires and things, tell you if the code's happening right at that moment too. The memory codes tell you what happened at some point, and it's still saved in memory. So there's 3 different ways to get codes from these monstrosities. Courtesy light relay, safety belt lamp, evap large leak detected, cap off or loose. System lean, bank 1 system. I wonder if those are in the memory from last time. Fuel cap off or loose. Well, assuming that it knows what it's talking about. Oh, I don't like this looks of the seal, but it's not ripped or torn anything really bad. This definitely doesn't feel right. We'll see if that's an issue. What I might have to do is clear the codes, do an evap service bay test, see if it resets. The lean codes are probably because of that tube that was left out. I want to say I left them alone because he said I'm going to take it back where they did that work and get them to fix that, not realizing that it was something simple I was going to do. All right, let's do that. Let's do a code clear, and then we'll retest. One of the many cool things that Ford does, my Ford guys know all about it, and you guys that are mechanics know, but a lot of people might not. Ford is the only brand on the entire globe, and potentially Mars in the near future, that sets a code when you clear the codes. So what this is a P1000, Onboard Diagnostic Systems Readiness Test Incomplete. So after you clear all the codes, this codes lets you know someone cleared the codes. And if it sets this code, you can't get misfire codes and all kinds of other things. You can't get misfire data because the monitors haven't been run yet. That's what this code lets you know. If you take it for a good drive, you know, 8 or 10 miles and you got time, you'll run all the monitors, luckily, or most of them, and then this code will go away, and then you'll be able to see misfired codes again and misfired data. So one of the quirks, but it's not really a big deal. Just something that GM guys have a hard time wrapping their head around. So now that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go drive this thing, see if it sets an evap code again. I can do a service bay test. Let's look at the gas level. You want it between 1/4 and 3/4 generally. Yeah, it's just about at 1/4 tank, so I probably can do that first. Let's see if there's a 2001. Could go either way. Let's see. Let's go enter. Actuation test. These old computers aren't very fast. This launch scanner is really fast. If it's slow like this, taking a while, it's usually the car's module is doing a lot, or it's old. And this one happens to be old. Evaporator, management valve, vent valve, duty cycle for EGR. I want to see if it does a start to finish evap test, but I don't see it. Vapor management valve. So I can do a couple individual tests, but what I'm going to do instead is go see if it sets a code on a road test. We'll pursue this if we have to. Alright, I'm not seeing a check engine light on this thing. We are going to go in this vapor test. I brought up short fuel trims. Let's see if this vapor management valve changes the fuel trims and that kind of thing. Right now it's adding fuel, which is kind of strange. Could have a small vacuum leak, something like that. I'm going to have to check that as well. That's a separate issue. But it's not setting those codes right now, although they were in the memory, as you saw. Let's do vapor management valve right here with the plus. See if these fuel trims change. That's what we're trying to watch. I wish I could put it in graphing mode, but it doesn't let you at this point. They don't look like they're changing much at all. We get to 40 or 50% and they don't change, then that valve's probably not. Oh, they're changing now. Okay. So what it's doing is pulling vapor from the canister into the intake right now and adjusting the fuel trim with the additional fuel vapors. So the fuel trim's correcting because the valve is working. So we know that works. That's a good deal. That helps us out. I'm going to go back to minusing, see if the fuel trim comes back up. This doesn't have a fuel tank pressure sensor. Yeah, it goes back. So, okay. So we know that valve's working. So I'm going to have to get the smoke out, I think. See if we can find the leak. I'm not sure if the customer expects to pay anything for any of this stuff or not, but it has nothing to do with what I did, obviously. So let me go make sure it's okay with them up front to do this, and we'll come back. We'll send it out for a smoke and take a little break. Hopefully it'll come back ready to go. They said the customer doesn't want to pay any diag. With this being so old, another Fast and Furious dump truck. They're everywhere in this town. That dump truck's loud by you? Anyway, I think it's very odd that they're all so loud. The vapor management valve's under the battery tray on these from memory. And, oh, look at that. That's not good. That might be 2 stones and 1 bird type of situation. Let me get a piece of hose. Well, that might fix his lean condition and the evap codes. It probably doesn't pull enough vacuum on the purge valve sometimes. I found in my toolbox a piece of 3/8 hose, and I found in the shop's toolbox a 3/8 hose coupler fitting, because this hose is all molded from Ford. So I'm going to mold it from Jimmymakingitwork, and I'm going to get them fixed. And she's talking to him to get approval, but I'm going to fix it either way. So that's just how it is. That's just how I roll. I'm going to get this hose to feel until I get to a solid point where the hose isn't collapsing yet. And the rest of it goes down under to the purge valve and has a rubber fitting and a 90-degree, you know, it's kind of probably an expensive hose to buy. So we'll just come up with something for it. Don't need that. I'm working down here where you can see the hose gets a lot more solid around here. So I think that's where we'll cut it. And then we'll just splice it up. This part of the hose is actually in good shape, probably been replaced. And then we'll clear codes and try it again. That's a little better. Probably could tie wrap this down here or something. That'll be all right. I know one thing, if the fuel correction is better and we're not lean anymore, we're definitely fixing that problem. And since it goes to the purge valve, guess what? No napping at work, Bill. Look at that. Now it's pulling fuel out of it in all kinds of crazy ways because it had overcorrected. So I'm gonna say this one's fixed. Oh, Joe's pulling out the cutlass. I helped him get the carburetor tweaked out on that thing. It was all the kid said he had it on a dyno, and it's 380 horsepower, but he couldn't make it home because it ran so bad. And when we thought it was flooding at first, but I saw it pop into the carburetor, so I adjusted the screws and the idle mixture and got Joe in the ballpark. He's not into all the hot rod stuff so much, so that's why I tend to do most of the old cars. But we got it running good, and I don't think it's 380 horsepower, but that's not up to me. That's fine. Now I can definitely go drive this, but I'm going to see if Ford has a clear fuel trims mode, kind of like GM does. Reset keep alive memory will do it. Let's go key on engine off, reset the fuel trims, then see what they do. Because what happens when the short fuel trims are that far out, then the long fuel trims over time have gone way out, trying to keep the short trims happy. That's how that system works. There's like blocks of fuel trims, and when something's too lean or rich on short trim, then the long trim will move a block in either direction to try to get the short trim in a happy place. So now it will save a lot of time and aggravation for everybody if we reset keep alive memory, switch it off, ensure the following action has been taken. It's mad at me because I didn't want to do it. I was trying to fool it. Let's do it. Okay. We're going to finish this fuel trim clearing mode, keep alive memory, which is the learn trims and stuff, and then we'll come back and look at the fuel trims. Okay, now that that's cleared, let's go back to short trim, see if it saved that for me. Sometimes it'll save you what you picked, but it didn't that time. We'll fire it up and see what those trims do now. Let's put it on graphing mode since we can in here. That is what we want to see. Under 5%, maybe 8% at the most. When a car's running properly and there's no vacuum leaks and no bad O2 sensors, and you don't have a dirty mass air, and everything's happy, it'll be 5% under and over 0, because the oxygen sensors go under and over 0.45. They're never perfect. It never gets the fuel mixture perfect. It's always chasing it. So the O2 says rich, it goes lean. The O2 says lean, it goes rich, back and forth. That's why you see these numbers jumping around a little bit. That's all normal. It's working good. So I think this one's ready. Hopefully he approves it, because either way it's fixed. I don't care. It only took 20 minutes. We're good to go. Let's see if there's something else to do. Taz, my buddy. That's what happens when you go to the buffets. That's what you mostly see it there at the buffet. Can you believe it broke in 2013 Honda? We're doing a courtesy inspection, and we're doing a fan sounds louder than it should be inspection. I'm not sure what that means, if it's a blower or the cooling fan, but I know one thing. We're gonna get it in the shop and take a look. What do you think about that? I hear a bunch of noises, like suspension related type noises. Tire lights on, check tire pressure. We'll do that too. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Get a little door unlockage action going with the windows. I'm gonna give it a 6. It's actually pretty clean. Got a wheelchair area. That's bonus points. What is the mileage on this thing? I'll tell you what. Oh, information. I bet you that'll tell us something. 106,800 miles. That's nothing. This thing's 11, 12 years old now. Well, you know what? While we're in here, we'll turn the fan up. What do you think about that? Speed this guy up if we can figure out what buttons do what. This is confusing. Here it is. Fan up, fan down. That sounds nice. I don't see any problem. Although it's not cold. It's warm on the left and cold on the right. Maybe that's why. Nope, they're tied together. So there's something going on with the AC too. That's separate. I didn't ask about it. Let's go under the hood. I'll do a test of the mechanical condition of that fan. See if we can spot something funny, like a wobbly fan blade type of thing, or broken fan blades. And then if not, then we'll let it run and let the fan come on, or we can let it cycle with the AC. Sometimes this will have a separate AC and a separate cooling fan. So you know what, if I stop flapping and get under the hood, we'll have a better idea. Well, there's a little bit of play in that one. Uh-oh, there's a lot of play in that one. You see that? Not sure if that shows up for you guys. That is no bueno. We know that's a problem. Is that the problem he's talking about? I'm going to let this thing run. Let that fan cycle on. Usually that larger fan's cooling and the smaller one's AC, but one thing for sure, if we let it run, we'll find out, and then we'll see how loud it is. Well, that's no good. See how much it's wobbling? It's not making a ton of noise, but it's definitely wobbling really bad. I'm wondering when it goes up on higher speed, if then it starts making noise. I'm gonna let it run a few more minutes, and I am leaning very, very heavily on that. Worst case scenario, we'll get out the scope. Look at this gem. 2004 2500 4x4. Customer says I just bought it and I hear a popping noise. I think it needs front end work. Can you check it out now that I own it? Absolutely, my friend. We can do that. 248,921 key chiming miles. He just bought it. He's already got it pretty busy. Using it for work, I guess. Got ABS light on. Got red chrome floor mats. That's sweet. I'm going to get it on the alignment rack before someone else does an AC check or something on the alignment rack. I'm going to check the front end on the alignment rack. Oh, I can definitely feel clunking and bumping in the front end. I don't know if you hear that, but nothing absolutely horrible. But a four-wheel drive 3/4 ton, any little bit of play is bad. Because these things are made to do heavy duty work. So we got to make sure it's safe. The rubber block's in the way probably, but we'll just pop right over that. No big deal. I try to push them off to the side, but sometimes it's complicated to get that done. Here we go. Dunk, right over it. There you go. No problem. Let's get this thing in the air. It's got the typical old, 2004. It's 20 years old, 250,000 miles. So it needs a little love, that's all. No big deal. We're gonna give it a 3, and usually the stereos aren't even bolted down, and these things are just floating in there because the installation kit's like 25 bucks. Something, when you're a mechanic, I guess everything seems a little simpler because you buy that little part and your installation's easier. They got wiring kits that are plug and play. You just plug them into the factory harness and then wire it to the aftermarket dash. I mean, if you buy a couple of components, the installation kit and a wiring kit, it's about 50 bucks, and it really saves you a lot of time and aggravation. But let's lift it up and see what's going on. The tires are badly chopped. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Just about ready for some tires too. There's the inspection bar right here. Goes across here. Well, that is going to make things more interesting. It's got a fairly new steering box. Looks like the power steering pump leaks. The new steering box might be leaking a little bit. Nothing terrible, but it might not be brand new. It's not original, let's put it that way. Idler arm. Got new, almost looks like a, someone just had a rag on the inner tie rod. It's not new. The axles are new, the shocks are new. Upper control arm bushings, both axles. I haven't lifted up, checked ball joints and stuff. I'm just looking in to see. It's got a lot of new parts in it. Sway bar link bushing is just on a tear. That's not going to be their noise. Just something to note. Someone's got a remote grease fitting on here instead of just greasing it right there. Hey man, if that makes you happy, then you do that. Look at the fan shroud. That's probably not a good thing, especially when the radiator is offset about 4 inches from the fan. So we'll make sure they know about it. I'm sure they do. It's got all these new parts. Interesting. Some new hoses. Or maybe the dust just really clean. Nah, that's been changed. A couple of them have been changed. They rust and stuff too, but this truck's not rusty. Maybe they were damaged. New rear shocks. Usually you gotta check for play this way, radially, and if they're really bad, you'll be able to rock it and it won't move the component that's also attached to the same U-joint. But if you watch that front yoke, it looks pretty good. You see just the tiniest little bit of play in it, but nothing's going to cause really bad noises or vibrations yet. Let's lift it up, get a look at the ball joints. These 3/4 tons have heavier leaf springs. Sometimes the frame's a little heavier, sometimes it's the same as half ton, but they always have a bigger diff, bigger springs, bigger brakes. I think the frame's the same, but some of you truck experts might know. This thing needs tires for sure. I'm going to see if its ball joints might be popping or something like that. Got some play in it, but is that causing this noise? I can't be sure. Both ball joints have some play in them. Alright, now I move the jack so that the arms can hang and I can investigate the lower arm. Oh, that's not good. That is not supposed to be like that. There's rubber coming out of that one. Rubber coming out of that one. Alright, I think I found his problem. Lower ball joints, lower suspension arm bushings. The uppers have been done. Everything else looks pretty good. Good morning. How you doing? Motor mounts. A couple other things.
Just heard in the national.
All right, I got approval on these fans. Supposedly, I'm not even going to say supposedly. I'm going to say the way these come out is you get this out of the way, unbolt all the fan mount stuff and tilt it back, and you can sneak them out the front. I've done them before, but it's been a little while because Hondas don't break. So we'll see. We'll see what we can come up with. Oh, look at that. There's tons of room. Especially if I get that hood latch out of there. Take those 10s. Take the 10 for the grill so I can pull the grill away a little bit. That'd be plenty of room. Basically, it changes itself almost. I said to him up front, I hope we can get Denso or OEM brand fans or something, but we're gonna make it work. Pull that out of the hose there. I'm gonna discombobulate this upper hose clamp so the hose will let me pull it back. Because these are not factory hoses and they're a little short. They usually have enough slack to let you pull them back. What you would normally do is tilt it forward enough to get this fan out, unbolt that one and slide it over to here and pull it out without having to disconnect the hose. But they've got that hose so tight that we're gonna have to change our plans a little bit. No big deal though. I'll put a splash pan underneath on the floor, take the cap off. We'll only lose the coolant in the top of the radiator, so you won't have to bleed it or any of that. cooking with bacon grease. We'll probably have to get a ratchet wrench for those some gums. Look at that. Okay. Well packaged. That's a little hint. Dorman and Dorlast packaged the same way. Foam blocks. This is the wider one that goes in first. Has the heat shield on it. Happens with 2014 Mercedes, happens with...
yeah. Well, you know, Mercedes, Corvettes, I mean, there's certain customers you know they're going to be a pain. Old Land Rovers, okay, you know they're going to be a pain in the ass.
Got that 2007 over there.
That's the deal.
He's like, what? A little push pin, fan connector. There's a push pin and a fan connector in here, different in the back. Now, you start getting all these brackets on, this goes to the latch. And the latch should have marks that could line up. It's push pins galore from here out. All of these push pins don't have the ability to get them out easy. You got to use a pocket screwdriver. These have the notches. It's the only way I remember them. They're different. Got the oil level. Perfect. I gotta air up the tires and we'll fire this thing up and make sure those fans are nice and quiet. So far they're all about 8 pounds low. Calls for 35. Now 7 pounds. One more once over. Let's fire it up. See how quiet it is. Can't even tell they're running now. That's nice. Alright, it's time to troubleshoot the Escalade. If you've been around watching my channel a while, I grabbed the wrong scanner. If you've been watching my channel a while, this vehicle had cam timing codes, evap codes, you couldn't put gas in it, a whole bunch of other problems, stability light was coming on, which I hope were the cam timing and other codes, because cam timing codes will make the stability turn itself off. The problem is, the way this is behaving now, it doesn't look like that's the case. It just starts going ding, 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 and the light comes on, and it sets a whole bunch of weird codes like it's affecting the CAN system. That's just a hunch at this point. Friday, I played with it for about 45 minutes or so, trying to get it to act up while we were reading the CAN lines. My voltage looked a little bit off. It wasn't conclusive, and we ran out of time. So we're coming close to the end of the day again today. We're going to see if we can figure something out for the customer. I got to get the correct scan tool. Although I like the scan tool just fine. I like the wireless capability. If I have to go down and wiggle wires or connectors on modules and all, I want to be able to take the scan tool with me and watch my data. We might even have to put a scope on this one. I do know how to use a scope, and you guys have been watching a long time know that, because I have a little scope, handheld one, and I also have my Snap-on Modus, which has a scope in it. They're not as good as like a Pico scope. The Snap-on scopes are a little bit more confusing to use than a Pico scope, I think. But the Pico scope I want, I think it's called a 4225A. It's a 4-channel scope that you hook onto the scope, and it gives you power and your lead. So super handy dandy little tool. At least I think that's how it works. I've never had one. I've watched a lot of videos on them. It has a different connector, a 3-way connector that plugs into the scope. Some of you guys with experience with the Pico, tell me what that does. I just know that it's made for automotive, so it can handle more of an inductive spike than a regular scope can. Because mechanics can be a little clumsy. They're usually working in a rush. They're not getting paid a salary most of the time. So they're trying to beat the clock, which is what I do, which is kind of a bad thing. If you really want to get good at troubleshooting, the flat rate world is a tough world to be in, because they don't encourage you to troubleshoot. They want you to slap parts on, get it out, get to the next one. In any event, I'll get the scope out if I have to. Whew, that was a really long way to say that. Let me get my scanner. We'll see what kind of codes it has today, see if there's anything different going on. The stability light's not even on when I pulled it up on this lift. For those who don't remember, 114,965 miles, 2007 Cadillac Escalade. It's actually in pretty good shape. I mean, the mileage isn't that high. It's still managing to have some broken plastic dash parts and stuff. The Florida sun's not kind. Generally, you want to get the body from the south and the plastic from the north if you're going to make your own custom car. That's the best way to do it. Let's get this hooked up, send a report so they have all the updated codes list, which there was quite a few codes when we first got it. I want to say about 30. This does have the big giant 6.2 liter powerhouse. They run pretty strong for big heavy cars at like 7,000 pounds, maybe more. This is the SUV, it's not a pickup. This thing's got some heft to it. All right, let me stop flapping. Let's do the health report and we'll see where we end up with. Now, I've got a 989, which I don't think I've had before. Fluid pressure switch circuit 5, switch 5, circuit low voltage. It doesn't mean there's a short or anything like that. It just means it's not seeing voltage coming through the switch. When it thinks it should be closed, it should send voltage. If it doesn't see it, it's assuming it's not closing, basically. So it could be a broken wire, it could be a bad switch, could be glitches in the CAN system too. Temperature feedback, seat control codes, EBCM codes, control module COM bus off, system disabled, invalid serial data. This 561 code, that just means I see trouble in other modules. I don't like what they're saying because it's gobbledygook and we can't work with that. That's all that code means. It means look somewhere else for a problem. Lost COM with BCM, that's interesting. UO140. No other codes, no engine codes, amplifier, BCM codes. It's kind of strange that the EBCM would single out the BCM and there's no BCM codes. Let's try looking directly in the BCM, seeing if it's mad when we go right into it. Nope. Okay. File that under, that's odd. Transmission module, I really don't like that code. That's very strange. I want to say we had codes for TFP switch 3 and 4 last week. I have to look at my notes. The HVAC code we're not concerned with. The seat codes we're not concerned with. The EBCM code 73, control module communication bus off. That is interesting. There's also a suspension or stability control module in here somewhere as well. Electronic suspension control. These are real common failures and they cause a lot of these EBCM codes, but right now they're not showing any codes in that directly. We'll also look in this one. Very rare cases I've had codes in the module directly but not in the health report. I don't know why, so now I'm in the habit of just looking at that real quick. Not showing anything. Very unusual. So these are what we're going to focus on right now. These EBCM codes. The stability light pops on and the chime rings to let you know how sad it is. But right now, it's good to go. I might need to drive it again. The problem is driving and diagnosing at the same time are difficult. To really do it right, you have to have somebody else come with you, hold the scan tool, reading the scan data, or they can drive it while you look at scan data. Oh, service traction control. TCM. Any new codes? Same codes. Let's clear them. I've already sent the report, so we've got them saved. Service traction control light can come on while it's scanning for codes or clearing codes. We'll see what code should come back first. I cleared this code, it comes right back. Control module communication bus off, U0073. Last test passed. This ignition passed, but yet this code wasn't there. I find that alarming. Clear DTC's key on engine off. Let's see if that clears it out without it running. Memory seat module. No EBCM codes with the engine off. Let's read codes directly. No codes. Alright. I'm going to turn the key off briefly. Start it up. EBCM, enter. I'm going to bring up some data parameters in this son of a gun. I want to see. Active, anti-lock brakes failed. Pump motor voltage, steering wheel position, vehicle stability, traction control system failed, yaw rate sensor. Got good voltage, steering wheel's at 0, and it does look like it is. If I turn it left or right, oh, let's see what we get. 13 degrees. The other way, back to 0 or about. See if I can zero it out. That's about right. Pretty close to it. Okay, traction control system failed? No. Vehicle stability enhanced? No. Stability track off and a blinking light. And I think that chime is the really annoying part. It annoys me. It must annoy you. Traction control system failed? Yes. Vehicle stability failed? Yes. Now without turning keys off, read fault code. No communication. Therein lies the problem, Peter. Something is going on with that module, and all we got to do now is figure out what it is. The ABS just flickered and the lights came back on. I'm going to do it again one more time. Lost comm with BCM. Control module bus off. We got some codes to work with now. I'm going to head inside, run through the flow charts. I don't like to use flow charts as a default, but I'll skim through the flow chart and see what kinds of things it tells you to check, what particular grounds, what particular fuses, all those kinds of things. Generally, when you get to the bottom is where you should probably start and go backwards, because whatever the most likely cause of the problem is, they'll tell you last to check that. So at least that's been my experience. Maybe that's not the way it really is, and it just seems that way to old Jimmy. I don't know. We'll be right back. Before I head in there, I just thought of something. I got my scan tool with me. No wire. Here's my ABS. Here's my connector. Nothing. Where's my stability module? Now, if I had like Eric O style green crusties and stuff, there's a very good chance wiggling all those wires might help me show the problem. Air compressor for the air shocks. Ooh, look at those sons of guns. Those air shocks are not doing too good. He's not here for that though. That's just the wiring for the lights. That's the vent. We did all that stuff the other day. I don't like that. What is this for? That's a connector to something. That could be a problem. Here. Thing or something. Almost looks like it's supposed to do it that way. May end up back revisiting that. Might have to lower the spare tire down to get to the stability module. But I thought it was back here on the side of the spare tire. I think it's mounted on one of these cross members. Wiggling that did nothing. Well, there's two strange things going on. One, if you can see in the mirror there, someone just pulled behind me in a U-Haul truck. I don't know who it is or what they want, but they just parked behind me for some reason. Ever since I told you guys I was going to go look up those codes. I didn't get there because I said, you know what, let me just play with a couple of things before I do that. The stability light hasn't come back on since. And we tried wiggling those connectors at the EBCM and the suspension module in the back there, but no luck. Now, if I had a loose pin fit or corrosion in a connector, wiggling them connectors would have caused something. Highly likely it would have had some effect. That doesn't mean the module's not bad. It just means there's probably not a connection. So we can go a little further. I gotta get this to act up. That's the bigger problem. And we told the customer, he's kind of upset. He thought his car was going to be perfect. He'd have no other problems. And I tried to explain how we fixed the problems we found, but we didn't know if a stability light might come on because of something else or not. He's checking out my 62. Okay. Whew. People are odd. He came over and tapped on the window, and he wanted to know if he could take the Jeep transmission and drive shaft and stuff. I'm like, no, that goes in that Jeep over there. Okay, everyone's trying to make a living, I guess. You know, you can't fault them for that. The problem is just kind of an odd way to do things. Me personally, I'd go to the office and I'd say, you guys have scrap or anything? Anyway, we get like 4 of them a week, and we have 1 or 2 of them that we usually used, and they actually pay us for the scrap, which I didn't think was even possible. But sometimes we get $100 for the scrap metal, and the guy takes it, probably gets $300 for it. I don't know. Anyway, a little unusual. Trying to get myself back in gear, and I really wish the stability light would come on, but it won't. Back it up. The big concern I'm having with this too is when the EBCM sets a no-com with a BCM code and no other module sets it. It's kind of strange. And no other module sets a code for the EBCM. We're gonna have some fun with this one. We'll be dancing with it on and off, probably going back and forth to other cars. Try to make the customer happy and figure this out for him. Like I said, he's hoping everything's under warranty and he doesn't have to pay, but that's not the case, because we fixed problems we knew. Now we have to fix some other thing. We were hoping it would correct that too, but obviously it didn't. So, and all this time I've been flapping my flap'em-gasters. What are they called? Flapping my lips, and nothing, not a single time. And I don't think it matters whether you drive it or not. The light just comes on randomly. It might come on 3 times in a minute. Sometimes it'll stay on for a few minutes, then it'll go back off. Sometimes it won't come on for a long time. So, like I said, we'll come back to it, just to get a sense of direction for when it does come back on again. Well, I'm going to have to make sure that Cadillac's buttoned up, because I spent too much time researching stuff. Yeah, that thing's good to go. Alright. Gonna have it lifted up in the air, got the keys out of it. No one's getting that thing. It's not even on the ground. It's looking more and more like something to do with that EBCM or StabiliTrak. They both have terminating resistors in them. And if something goes on with that module and that terminating resistor's not right, it messes with the CAN system pretty bad. I'm probably going to get out my little handheld 2-channel scope and go in pins 14 and 16 in the OBD2 connector with that little breakout box you saw me using Friday. And we'll do some more tests to try to get it to act up. The problem is it might not do it for a day, and sometimes it does it all the time. It's really weird. But that doesn't stop us from fixing it. It just makes it take longer. So I apologize for doing little chunks here and there. I just play with it when I get a chance, and we'll get it figured out. So torque the like button before you head out. I'm closing up the shop. We're done for today. Hope I see you in the next one. You're awesome.